Hi there and welcome along to another workout for you to row along to. Today's workout is going to be a 25-minute how to row, because what we're going to do is start off at a warm-up pace at around about 20 strokes a minute, and then we're going to gradually increase that pace, and then I'm going to start to talk to you about technique in terms of your body angles, how you get the power into the machine, and why technique matters, okay? It's not going to be as dry as it sounds, okay? I'll try and throw in a couple of jokes just to keep it interesting, all right? So, before we get started, we have to set up our machine. And on an Aviron, that means setting your resistance first. Now, on a warm-up, I will set my resistance to 7, but on a main row, I will set it at 12. However, today I'm setting it 10 so that I can keep the intensity between like 5 or 6 out of 10, which then means I'm in full control over my stroke and I can think about my technique. If you are on a Concept 2 using the Aviron app, I want you to set your drag factor to wherever you would normally have it when you row. If you don't know anything about drag factor, just set your lever to 5, okay? Because too low isn't a problem, too high is when it becomes a problem. And then read up about drag factor online after this row, all right? Next up, go to foot stretcher height, and what you're looking for is to set them to a height where you can come into the front of the machine with your shins in a vertical position comfortably, okay? If you're set too high, it can be a bit tough to get there. If you're set too low, you can go flying straight past, headbutt the machine, and well, that's not going to happen, don't worry. And then a good ballpark here is that the strap covers the bottom lace of your shoe, which should be the balls of your feet, okay? So set it there if you're unsure, and then you can adjust over time just to make sure that you're comfortable, all right? So we're going to do this at around about 20 strokes a minute throughout, starting off at a warm-up pace, which is just a light push from the legs, just to get your body used to moving, and then we're going to increase the pressure. I'll talk about technique and then we'll all be done, all right? So hopefully you're set to go because we're about to start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're off. So like I say, we're starting off at a warm-up. So, I mean, there is no kind of bottom intensity to this. However low you want to start in order to warm up, that's perfectly fine by me. What I don't want you to do is to be absolutely gunning it from the start. Just however you would row, just to start, just to think, oh, got to wake up my body, been sitting at a desk all day, or I've just got out of bed, or who knows how you've approached the machine. But just get yourself moving, all right? Just put in a light push of the legs, make sure your arms are connecting to the machine, and that you're kind of moving how you want to be. And then after the first minute, I'll start to drill in some ideas about technique, okay? I just want you to get moving. And we're not going to worry about intensity in the next minute. I just want you to think about body angles, okay? And what that means is that I want you to have a forwards tilt as you come into the front of the machine. And I say tilt because it's a hinge forwards tilting over your hips rather than it being, I'll try and do it here, a kind of a turtle roll of your upper or lower back, okay? Don't do that. I know it can be tricky sometimes if I demonstrate the wrong thing to do. People think, what's he doing? Is that how I'm meant to row? That's why you should row with the sound on. Anyway, right. So a forwards tilt over the hips as you come into the front, and then of course a backwards tilt at the back of the machine. And so that pumping forwards and backwards and forwards really should just become an integral part of your stroke. It lets you add power to the machine. It protects your lower back, it keeps you efficient, and it means you may have read somewhere that rowing uses 85% of the muscles in your body. Could be 82, could be 86, but no, they say 85. And that only happens if you use your back, okay? I mean, you've also got to use your legs and your arms as well, but we're talking about back right now. So tilt forwards, tilt backwards. Okay, so hopefully you're doing that. Every time I go off on a little rant, just concentrate on what I've just told you. Usually I'm just padding to give you a chance to practice what I've said. So now, what I want you to do is push a little harder with your legs. This is when we start to think about the intensity that we want to row today's workout at. And what you're looking for is this kind of 5 out of 10 perceived exertion intensity. And 5 out of 10 should mean that you're working enough for your breathing to increase, for your heart rate to increase, but it doesn't feel like it's hard work. You should be able to talk while rowing at this intensity. Although, while you're talking over me, I can only assume it's to throw abuse at me. Or maybe it's not. Maybe you're like, I agree with everything you're saying, John. So, you want to have, you're working enough that you know you're putting in effort, but not so much that you can't talk. And the way I describe it, feeling like, is if you were in, say you're in an office block or a hotel or somewhere with lots of flights of stairs, and you're climbing up all those stairs. After a while, you realize it actually takes a bit of effort to climb up some stairs. You're starting to breathe hard, heart rate's up, but you can keep going. It doesn't feel like you have to actually stop. It's not like that scene in Ghostbusters when they all actually have to take a breath. So, right, that's the intensity I want you to push with your legs for. And now that we've been doing that for a while, hopefully you've kind of hit stasis. And what I mean is that your heart rate has settled. It's no longer increasing by loads really quickly. It's kind of held round about the same kind of level. And your breathing shouldn't have got any heavier. And this is then the intensity that we're going to row at for pretty much the rest of today's workout, while we think about the various points of technique. Okay? Now, like I said, I'll try not to make this too dry and just talking about techniques here. I've already tried throwing in the odd joke to try and make this a bit more entertaining. Even if, I was about to say, even if you haven't seen Ghostbusters, but seriously, who hasn't seen Ghostbusters? And if you haven't, you should watch it. It's a very good film. Anyway, right. I think I've flannelled enough now that you should be warm enough that your body is going to be able to get into the various angles, and you'll be able to think about the things that I'm talking about. So let's just describe the front of the stroke first, known as the catch. So this is here, right before the drive, but right after the recovery. That kind of 1/10 of a second at the front of the stroke before you put the power in. And it is important that you're in the right position here in order to get the power into the machine and also to reduce your chances of injury, okay? So what do I mean? Right, let's go arms first. So arms as you come into the front should be straight, but relaxed, okay? If I were standing next to you and could see your rigid arms, your triceps are bursting out the sides of your t-shirt, then I'd know you were too tense. I often talk about zombie arms as you come forwards. Okay, nice and relaxed, because you've never seen a tense zombie. Nice and relaxed, out in front of you, loose as you come to the front. And your fingers should be hooked over the handle, okay? So it's not a death grip. You're not trying to choke the life out of the handle. A nice hook over the handle. And that aids the nice relaxed arms, because you're not tense and gripping. And it also, more importantly, helps the power go through the handle into the machine. And then height-wise, a nice neutral height, okay? Not up in the air, and also not scraping down to the bottom of the machine. You're not in a rowing boat. There's no need to dump the handle down to lift the oar out the water, okay? Next, how far do you slide? Well, like I said in the setup, you roll forwards until your shins are in a vertical position. Okay? So vertical. If you go past vertical, then what happens is your backside scoops from underneath you because of the spring that you're creating in the legs, the tension. Whereas if you don't get to vertical, you are wasting potential leg drive, okay? Lots of leg muscle power could be going into the machine here if I just rolled a little bit farther forwards. Now, I know there's flexibility issues for some people, so really just get into a position that you're most comfortable with. But remember what I said in the setup, that sometimes it can be because your feet are too high in the foot plates. So do take a look at that. See if lowering the foot plate by 1 or 2 holes helps you get into that vertical position. And then I already said about your back, a tilt forwards into the front of the machine. But the important thing here is that tilt, okay? That you're not curling down with your lower back or upper back. It's a tilt hinging over your hips. And what really comes into play here is posture. And that means a powerful posture is sitting up on your sit bones as you come forwards. And the best way to think about it is to try to think where your tailbone is as you come forwards. Okay, so you want your tailbone to be free and not tucked underneath you. So if I came in to the front like this, the tailbone is right underneath me. Okay, and this is an example of a poor posture. Hips rolled backwards. Again, this is where people are like, please don't row like that. How am I supposed to copy you? But hips are rolled backwards, tailbone's underneath me, and in order to get shins anywhere near vertical, my heels are almost parallel to the floor. Okay, so you roll up into a good posture. That means tailbone is released from underneath you, hips are now pointing forwards, and that helps my back to tilt forwards. And then the last thing to say is just keep a neutral chin height, which actually, if you're rowing this on the Aviron, because you've got this monitor in front of you, it does kind of promote your chin being at the right height. So it's a good design. Because what you don't want to do is be tucked and slumped at the front, or to lead with your chin, then everything falls apart as you do so. Okay, so looking straight ahead, forwards tilt, shins are vertical, arms straight and relaxed. And now, 6 minutes later, we can finally talk about the drive. And that's where you put the power into the machine. So, keep your arms straight. Keep your fingers hooked over the handle. Keep your chin at a neutral height. Keep your back tilted forwards. The only thing that changes here is that you plant your heels into the foot plates and you push the machine away from you. Okay? That's vital that you think about pushing this machine through the wall in front of you. You don't think about pushing yourself backwards. You don't think about pulling on the handle. All you think is push with the legs. Hold, forwards tilt, straight arms, and just let your legs power into the machine, pushing it away from you. And then, when your legs are about halfway through that push, that's when you finally swing your back from that forwards tilt to the backwards tilt, adding power in. So as your legs begin to fade, your back takes over and tops up the power. Now, I made a video earlier on today where I demonstrated how fast I could row with just my back. And I was down at 1:55 pace per 500 meters just by using my backswing. So don't dismiss the extra power you can have by holding that forwards tilt as you push and then waiting until halfway through the leg drive before swinging back. And then once you start that backswing, that's when you finally pull in the arms. So the arms have stayed straight through most of the drive. So hang on, try and straight pull. Here we go, straight pull. So it's like 2/3 of your drive, your arms are still straight, letting the power come up through your body. Because you've got that good posture, you can brace your core against that power. And then only at the back of the stroke, as your legs finish and your back finishes, do you pull with the arms. And you want a good powerful pull at the back. Get elbows through your sides. Try, if you can, to keep your wrists flat or flattish. I'm kind of absent-minded at times with my own stroke here. But if you can aim for flat instead of dumping it into your lap, which I see a lot, where people finish low, or see lots of people finishing with it up in their neck, both of which are really weak finishes. Whereas if you can finish with the handle at sternum height, brass strap height, heart monitor height, with your wrists flat, elbows through your sides, possibly a slight outwards flare of your elbows, but not chicken wings. And then squeeze your shoulder blades together like you're trying to crush a can, an empty can, please, between your shoulder blades. I mean, unless you're Popeye, and that's a novel way to open your can of spinach. But squeeze those shoulder blades together, strong finish, and then what should happen is that your legs finish, your back finishes, and your arms finish at the same time. And a way to make sure that that happens is as you get to the back of the stroke, point your toes to the front of the machine. Okay, so point. And what that does is it makes sure that your legs are fully down, but not locked, because you don't want that. But also, it means that you're not bracing against the foot straps. Because if you have to tug on the foot straps at the back, chances are you've got your timing all wrong. And not only that, if you brace against the foot straps and tug on them to pull yourself forwards, look what happens. So at the back, pull. That's my posture gone. Posture gone is the knees pop up. Whereas if I finish strong with legs down, I can get arms away, tilt forwards before my knees bend. And then that's me in the perfect position to roll forwards into the next stroke. So legs down, not pulling on foot straps because your feet are pointing to the front of the machine. And then as the handle touches your chest, just release it again at round about the same speed you pulled it in at. So the important thing here is not to pause, okay? So you'll see that there are some rowing drills where you pause at the back and analyze your position. But I don't want you doing that in the main part of a row. So let the handle come in, release, and then your back goes forwards again. Because what this means is that the momentum of the handle going away triggers that forwards tilt, even while your legs are still down and straight. Because if you can use your body's momentum to bring you forwards again, you don't have to use any energy, any muscle power to return to the next stroke. Which is not only using the recovery as it's meant to be, a recovery because you're not using any muscles, but it also prevents you kind of tweaking the muscles in the front of your legs as you yank yourself forwards. Because this really is the point of technique. It's about efficiency, making sure you are only using energy that goes into the machine. No point using any energy on the recovery because it doesn't help in the slightest. And then injury prevention too. This backswing forwards and backwards with a good posture means that the power from your legs goes up through your body without anything fighting against it. Whereas if you have that slumped posture and you drive, now everything is going through my lower back. And I know that if I were to row for any period of time at a high intensity, I'd end up injured in my lower back. And so the last thing to say about the recovery and the handle away is that this is what kind of governs higher stroke rates. So the harder you push on the drive, the more power you put in, but also the faster your drive speed. But you need to marry that up with a faster recovery if you want to get the stroke rate higher. So usually you want a 2-to-1 ratio where your drive is twice as fast as your recovery. So at this stroke rate, 1 second drive, 2 seconds recover. But if you take the stroke rate up, which I'll do now, you don't have to follow me, it's about the same ratio, so it means you have to recover quicker as well. Let me slow down again. And you recover quicker by getting that handle away. Don't be scared of it. You're not throwing it away. Fluid, rhythmic. You're dancing with the machine. Okay, so in and out at the same pace, regardless of your stroke rate. One more stroke. 25 minutes just went. And trust me, there's more I could have said. Now, if you want to do a little bit of light rowing, just as I say goodbye over the next 30 seconds, just to make sure you cool down, please do. Or do hunt out the cool down I have as a separate video up here, which will take you through a 2-minute cool down and then a stretching session as well. Or maybe you just did that 25 minutes as a kind of a warm up before you went into more workouts in the gym or something. So if you want to then return to your machine and do a cool down using the cool down, please do. But anyway, there we go. That was 25 minutes talking just about technique. Like I said, hopefully it wasn't too dry. I did try and make it a bit more entertaining than just going, oh, you have to lean forwards and backwards and straight arms. But if you follow that kind of example of getting your body in the right position at the front, straight arms, nice and relaxed, forwards tilt, shins at vertical, and then you push with your legs, then you swing your body, you pull in your arms, and then you rhythmically release your arms again, swing forward your body, then bend your knees. That's really all you need, okay? So just then think about posture, all that stuff on top of it. But the most important thing I'd say is fall in love with rowing first, okay? So I've given you the kind of how to row here, but now just do some rowing sessions. Don't worry too much about technique and getting it absolutely right. Just think about posture and straight arms and a tilt and row. Fall in love with rowing. And then you can start to think about all this stuff. Because trust me, the more you really try and chase a good technique, the less fun it can become. All right? I'm not saying it's not fun, but it becomes something that you're kind of struggling with. Whereas if you could just sit on the machine and row for 25 minutes, get a great sweat and you feel fantastic at the end of it, that's really what's important. And then everything that I'm telling you to do is about allowing you to row further and allowing you to row without injury. And that's how the importance of technique comes in, all right? So sorry for the long outro, but I just thought I'd better explain that. Thank you so much for joining me on this one. If you want to leave some kind of a socials post saying you did this one, then just leave a hashtag technique. That's all you have to do is hashtag technique with your little post. And then that way people go, look, they did that row. All right, so thank you so much for joining me for this one. Please let me know whether you enjoyed it or not. I will see you in another video. Until then, take care, be well, bye-bye.